Okay, so before we take a look at some sampling questions, I'll just briefly run you through the basic terminology that you need to be familiar with. When you're sampling, what you're trying to do is get a measure of the views or habits or dimensions of a large group of people. That group of people or animals or whatever it is you're working with is called the population. So the population, it could be a country, it could be a school, it could be a shopping centre, whatever you want to generate that amount of information from is the population. Now you could find out all the information you need by measuring, asking, speaking to every single member of that population. If you do that, then what you are doing is you're taking a census, spelled that wrong. Okay, so a census, and that would mean that you are getting the opinions, measurements, habits, views of every single person or whatever it is that's in that population. In the UK, I think it's every 10 years there is a census where a questionnaire goes out to all households. But more often than not, because that's a very expensive and time-consuming thing to do, statisticians take a sample. So a census would be everybody, everyone, everything, whatever. But what would be more than likely would be a sample. And the sample, as a sort of rough rule of thumb, would be the number in the sample would be a cross-section of that population, and it would tend to be the square root of how many there are. So if there are 1,000 in the population, then you would take the square root of 1,000 in the sample. So square root of 1,000 is 31. So you would be looking for about 30 to say 35 people in your sample. Now what they look at GCSE is different types of samples in order to get this snapshot of the population. You want to try and make your sample random, and a random sample means that everybody within the population is equally likely to be one of those 30 to 35 people. So it's random, everybody in the population is equally likely to be selected in the sample. And then at GCSE, we need to look at two types of random sample. One, which is systematic, and the other one is I forgot the word for it. Stratified. Couldn't get the word strategic out of my mind. Is a stratified random sample. Both of those you're going to be selecting people at random, but you're going to go about them in different ways. So first of all, if we look at the systematic random sample, what that is going to do is, if we stick with this as an example, if we want to sample between 30 and 35 people, that means that we're going to break that 1,000 population into groups. So you would be doing 1,000 divided by 30. So they'd be in groups of 33. And then within that group of 33, you are going to select one person for the survey. And the way that it starts is that within the first group of 33, you would pick one person at random, and then every 33rd after that person. So you would start off with one person at random, so for my example, we pick one person at random from the first group of 33, and then every 33rd person. So it's systematic in that once we've randomly selected that first one, then from then it's every 33rd. So it's not randomly within every group. With a stratified random sample, we work with that if we've got a population that's got subgroups within it. So say for example we had 100 pupils in year 11, 70 of them were boys and 30 of them were girls. We would want to make sure in our sample that there is a fair proportional representation of boys as there is girls. So there are going to be 7 boys for every 3 girls in our sample, and that would then become a stratified random sample. So similarly, if you were in a school where you had different numbers of pupils in every year group and you wanted to make sure that each year group is proportionally represented, then again you would use a stratified random sample. You will have been taught how to use the random number generator on your calculator, which is the numbers or the functions that are above the decimal point. But also for the exam, you also need to know how to use a random number table. And the easiest way I can explain that is when we see one in the exam questions. So just to quickly go back, you need to be familiar with the word population and what it means, how to take a population to work out how many would be in the sample. Appreciate that a random sample means everybody is equally likely to be selected. A systematic sample, you pick the first person at random from the first group and then every so many on from there. A stratified sample is used when you've got uneven distributions and you want to get a proportional sample, and we also need to know how to use a random number table. So with all that in mind, let's take a look at some questions. So these are all taken off the WJC recent numeracy papers. Majority of them are higher tier. You don't need to know for the intermediate tier about stratified, only systematic, but it's worth you working through them anyway. It won't do you any harm. So the first question, the school council wants to know pupils' views on their school uniform. Which of the following statements shows how a truly random sample of the general population can be obtained? Circle your answer. Okay, so remember that for it to be a truly random sample, everybody in that school needs to be equally likely to get selected for the survey. So if you're randomly selecting pupils in the canteen at lunchtime, will that mean that everybody is equally likely to be selected? And the answer is no. You will get some students that go home for lunch or out to lunch. You'll get some that eat at break time. You'll have some that eat sandwiches. So that is no. Randomly selecting pupils from those that attend the next school council meeting. Same argument. Is that the whole population? No. Is everybody equally likely to be selected? No, because it's definitely going to be people on the school council. Randomly selecting pupils with a surname beginning with J? Well, no, because that excludes so many with regards to surnames. Giving each pupil a raffle ticket and then randomly drawing raffle tickets for a selection. So that will, because everyone will have a unique number on their raffle ticket, and that will then enable them to get randomly selected. So that one is yes. Selecting every second pupil from each form register, again, that will be no, because it's extremely unlikely that you will have Thomases or Williams, and the majority of them will be people with surnames at the upper end of the alphabet. So the only one there that is going to give you a truly random sample is D. B. Vote Predict is a specialist company working in the field of polling and predicting voting patterns in elections worldwide. They are asked to organise a debate with an audience that is representative of 5 political parties. The 5 political parties and their predicted number of votes given in alphabetical order are as follows. The invited audience should be a stratified sample using this information. It is tended to have 250 people in the audience. How many people who intend to vote for the central party should be in the audience? So what we need to do is work out what fraction of all the predicted votes are central, and then find out what that fraction of 250 is. So the total votes will be the sum of all those numbers. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4, 3, 2, 4, 4, 8, 3, 1, 2, 4, 1, 1, 7, 8, 2, 6, 3, 7, 8, 9. So 225,395. So the central vote will be, as a fraction, 23,456 out of the total 225,395, which we then multiply by the people that are going to be in the sample, so times 250. So on your calculator you can put that in exactly as you see it. 23456 over 225395 times 250, 26.01, etc., etc. So 26 people. So 26 people from the central party should be sampled for the television debate, and then that sample would be up to the central party to do out of their membership. Next question. Circle true or false for each of the following statements. Selecting the first name on each class register will give a random sample. Well, we've discussed that. It's not going to be random because, as I've said, Thomases and Williamses aren't going to get a look in. So that's false. The ratio of boys to girls in the school is 2 to 3. The pupil committee of 30 pupils is selecting using a gender stratified sample. There are 10 boys and 20 girls on the school committee. So what we've got is boys to girls 2 to 3. That means that in every group of 5 there are 2 boys and 3 girls. Or as a fraction, 2/5 of total will be boys and 3/5 of the total will be girls. So if the total is 30, that's going to be 5 goes into 36, 12 boys, and 3/5 of 30 will be 18 girls. So 10 boys and 20 girls is false, because actually there are 12 and 18. So again, that's another way of working with stratified samples, is from a ratio. So if it's 2 to 3, that means you've got 5 equal parts. 2 out of the 5 are boys, 3 out of the 5 are girls. And then from the fraction, you can then work out what the quantity is. A telephone survey is carried out to find which political party people support. The sample of people surveyed is not a random sample of the whole population. Well, that's true, because not everybody, becoming increasingly unlikely, but not everybody will have a phone or answer the phone to a strange or unrecognized number. So that is not a random sample, it's true. A stratified sample always considers proportions according to the given criteria. Well, that's true, just like in that example, the proportion of boys to girls. In the previous question, it was the proportion of people expected to vote for a particular party. So that's true. And a random sample of people means everyone has an equal chance of being selected. That's your basic definition of a random sample. It's true. Next question. Porth-Even Hospital has made some changes to improve patient care. A survey is to be used to find out the views of hospital staff. The table shows the total number of staff in each job type. The survey is to be given to a sample of 75 staff. Use a stratified sampling method to calculate the number of staff from each job type that should be asked to complete the survey. You must show you're working. So we want to, as you can see, there are different numbers, so we want to make sure that there's a proportional representation from each job type. So the total staff will be our population. So 120 plus 320 plus 56 plus 144 is 640. So the number of doctor would be the proportion, so 120 out of 640, and we want that fraction of the sample. So 120 out of 640 times 75 is 14.0625. Now, because we need to make sure these add up to 75, we need to work out which ones will round up and which ones will round down. So we'll write that as it is for now, and then you'll see what I mean. So nurses would be 320 out of 640 times 75. 37.5. Management would be 56 out of 640 times 75. 6.5625. And clerical will be 144 out of 640 times 75. 16.875. So that is going to round to 14. That is going to round to 6.67. That one's going to round to 17. And you see I've left that one there. Now usually we would say that would round up. But if that became 38, we'd end up with 14 plus 38 plus 7 plus 17, 76. And we need 75. So in this case, that one actually we end up rounding down to 37. So there's your stratified sample. And now we come to a random number table. So there's a very specific way that these are used, and they'll want you to explain. So let's take a look at the question, and then I'll explain what you need to do. So the hospital decides to take a random sample of its 120 doctors to select those needed for the survey. Use the following list of random numbers to select the first 5 doctors. You must start with the first number in the list, so there, that's 0, explaining clearly how you are using the numbers to select the sample. So it's not enough when using random numbers just to pick them from your mind as the first number that comes into your head, because it's been shown that that doesn't generate random numbers. So you either have to use a random number on your calculator, but on an exam paper they will expect you to be able to use printed random numbers. Now you can buy books which have just got random numbers in. This is an extract from one of those books. So you have to generate numbers between, or you have to give each doctor a unique number, just like that example with the raffle tickets. Every doctor will have a unique number. So the first thing you do is to say give each doctor a number, a unique number between 001 and 120. So again, each one will be with 3 digits, because we need to group these in groups of 3. So give each doctor a unique number between 001 and 120. That's the first thing. Starting with first number top left. So I'm starting there. Move in rows. In digit groups of 3. So each doctor's got a unique number between 001 and 120. Starting with the first number, top left, move in rows. You could move in columns, but I've decided to go in rows. In digit groups of 3. Selecting numbers in the range rejecting duplicates and numbers outside the range. So we'll go through the process now, but this is what you have to write. So each person, doctor in this case, has a unique number between 001 and 120. Starting with the first number, top left, move in rows in digit groups of 3, because I need to have digit groups of 3 to go up to 120. If there were only 99 doctors, then I'd be moving in digit groups of 2. Selecting numbers in the range 001 to 120 and rejecting duplicates and numbers outside the range. So the first number that I'm going to get is 32. It's in the range, so that doctor is in the sample. Next one is 520. The next one is 21. Then I got 924 outside, 152 outside, 627 outside, 351, 295, 081 is in. So I'm there, 495. Reject. 542, reject. And though it seems ridiculous to write down these, this is what you're being expected to do. You could do it up here, but you're still having to demonstrate that you are considering each group of 3 until we have 5. So far we got 3, we're down to there. 396, 949, 417, 235, 962, 261, 837, 783, 983, 493, 876, 924, 032 we could accept, but it's already been selected, so we have to reject it, and that's one of the ones the examiner will be looking for. 421, 205, 740, 055, there's another, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 491, 806, 415, 158, 392, 1, 2, 3, 4, 441, 521, 105, and there's our 5th. So our doctors are Doctor 32, 21, 81, 55, and 105. So that's a very specific process that you have to describe. Each person unique number, 3 digits, starting with the first, what direction you're travelling, and how are you selecting and rejecting. So it's a bit time consuming, but it's not particularly difficult to get your head around. Simon plans to make gloves. One morning, Simon decided to carry out a survey to find the mean hand span of people in Wales. He decided to sample systematically, so this is a systematic one. He decided to sample from the first 240 people who pass him in the street during the morning. He wanted to take 20 people's hand spans. So that means that we've got to group that 240 people in order to get 20. So the number of groups would be 240 divided by 20, which is 12. So they're going to be in groups of 12. Number in groups. So there's 12 people in each group. And what you then have to do is pick from the first 12 people at random. From the first group of 12. So that could be the third person, the seventh person, the ninth person, first person, it doesn't matter. And then every 12th person from then on. And again, just like with the previous question, that's a system you've got to learn. So how many in each group? Pick the first person at random from the group of 12 and then every 12th. The table shows the number of Year 11 pupils attending schools in Cwm Ifan. So we've got 307 Year 11 pupils in Cwrt Haf, 239 in Cwm Ifan High, and 144 in Hen Clwyd. In total, there are 690 Year 11 pupils attending these three schools. So this time we don't have to add them up. They've saved us a bit of time and done that for us. A new youth theatre has been set up in Cwm Ifan. On the opening night, a total of 80 Year 11 pupils from these three schools are going to be invited to attend. Use a stratified sampling method to calculate the number of Year 11 pupils from each school who should be invited. So this is the proportional representation again. In Cwrt Haf, it will be 307 out of the 690, and we've got to turn that into a fraction of 80. 307 out of 690 times 80, so 35.594, etc, etc, etc. Cwm Ifan High will be 239 out of 690, turn into a fraction of 80. 27.71 ... and Hen Clwyd will be 144 out of 690. (16.69 ... Okay, so we want that to add up to 80. So that is the nearest one down. So that one's going to be 28. That one's going to be 17. And we want them to add up to 80. So if we do 80 less 28 less 17, that one we're going to have to round down to 35. So again, the usual rules of if it's 5 or more you round up. You need to be a bit careful for when you're working with proportion like this. And that is it. So those are the sampling questions that have come up so far with the WJC numeracy papers.